Roman is the biggest bad guy character in professional wrestling.
When's the last time you got laid?
French toast is the exchange student that you have like a 3-week affair with.
Like, we can see that you don't have pants on.
Can we tell the truth about Dusty sooner or later?
Less people wanted that than are currently watching our stream.
And you know Vince, and you still think, are these true? It's like...
Welcome to the Mark It Down podcast.
Hello, everybody. It's Thursday night. You know what that means. It's my house. We're in the Gym Pack Zone, and we're covering TNA Impact. I'm James Gisanti, and man, wrestling is just delivering on all cylinders right now. It's just firing everywhere. WrestleMania season, I say it every year, brings out the best in every company, and we're coming off of a hot pay-per-view for TNA. We're coming off of No Surrender, and we are now on our road to Sacrifice. Not a lot of wait time in between. That's quite all right. They did a great job tonight of wrapping up some loose ends from the pay-per-view last Friday, and now starting to lay the groundwork for Sacrifice coming forward. We saw a lot of big men in action tonight, a lot of heavy hitters, but of course the speed was there to match it, and nowhere was that more apparent than in the opening matchup as Steve Maclin took on Speedball Mike Bailey. Speedball Mike Bailey looking for some revenge against Maclin after Maclin interfered in Speedball Mountain's matchup against the Rascals during the pre-show at the pay-per-view last week. You guys know I love Speedball Mike Bailey. You guys know that I think Speedball is the guy for TNA for their future. I think he is one of the most underrated talents in the world, let alone the company. And Maclin being a former world champion, this was a matchup that I was eagerly anticipating. Like I said before, Braun met Speed in this matchup. Steve coming out the gate hot at Speedball, taking the fight to the outside where both men were duking it out. We almost got a count out very early on in this match. But when Zachary Wentz of the Rascals, who was with Maclin in his corner as Trent Seven was in Speedball's corner, he went for the leg behind the ref's back and tripped up Speedball. This sent Maclin back into the ring and allowed him to get the upper hand on top of the weakened left leg of Speedball. Didn't matter, though, as Speedball, like I said, kept bringing that speed, kept bringing that impact to Maclin, doing everything he can to just keep hitting him with everything he could as fast as he could before Maclin was able to catch him. There was a great spot near the finish that got a little scary as Bailey hit a Poison Rana onto Maclin that did not land great. Thankfully, nobody seems to have gotten hurt. Thankfully, it looked brutal. So that's kind of the best of both worlds when it looks great and nobody gets hurt. We take that there. He hits a great Poison Rana, but misses the Ultimo weapon, allowing Maclin to hit the KIA and get the pinfall for the 1-2-3. Maclin is in the ring with the Rascals celebrating and then cuts a promo on Nick Nemeth. Nick Nemeth, who wasn't at No Surrender because he was busy in Japan. And he gets to that as he appears on screen from the Tron, from New Japan Pro Wrestling, and announces that he's still not there because he was too busy winning an IWGP Global title. Great win for Nick Nemeth as he takes that title back to the United States, taking it off of David Finlay. He then challenges Maclin to a singles bout at Sacrifice. I get how this was a big deal for Nemeth to go to New Japan, and it is. It's good for New Japan. It's good for Nemeth, and in some ways it is good for TNA, but realistically, his presence has been felt, and I'm hoping he comes back sooner than later. He's definitely going to miss, I think, next week's episode of Impact as well, because I think this was a 2 or 3 episode taping before Sacrifice, but thankfully Sacrifice isn't too far off, and I believe it's March 8th, maybe, not entirely sure, but we will get Nemeth sooner than later, and I think that's the benefit for TNA. Moving on, we had a backstage segment backstage segment as Gia Miller is informing Frankie Kazarian that he is suspended due to his attack on the referee following his number one contenders match with Eric Young at No Surrender. Kazarian then tells Gia to ask Santino if he really thinks this is the right thing to do. Yeah, because Gia is your messenger. Come on. How dare you? Leave Gia Miller alone. She's done nothing wrong in her entire life. We know this, and we love her for it. But Kazarian, this is probably the right move, suspending Frankie Kazarian for the utter just obliteration of that referee in that segment following his match. Great, funny stuff, but probably the right way to handle things moving forward. Moving on, we had another instance of Big Man taking on Fast Guy as Jake Something took on Laredo Kid. They are very clearly building for Jake Something to be a facet in this X division. He is going to no doubt challenge for that title sooner than later. I'm sure we won't get out of 2024 without an X division championship win for Jake Something. And I gotta say, he's working. He's figured out a way to take his big, broody style and make it mash well against these fast, high-flying guys. The finish coming after just out of nowhere. We got an Into the Void for the 1, 2, 3. This was a fun, quick match. Not a lot to say about it, but that finish was great. That Into the Void, when I say came out of nowhere, I mean it. And if he keeps delivering in this way, I will certainly be rooting for him to take the title off Mustafa Ali sooner than later. Maybe later. I'm into this Mustafa Ali title reign. But moving on, we then had a tag team match as Diener and AJ Francis took on Joe Hendry one day and Rich Swann. This match has had a lot of story behind it, as we've had AJ Francis making his appearances in TNA, trying to corrupt Rich Swann, bring him to his side, but only being able to get Diener, which he never even really wanted. And his rivalry with Joe Hendry has been a fun one. Prior to the match starting, Hendry cuts a promo saying that he doesn't want the fans to chant AJ sucks. The crowd, of course, gets really into it, and he tried. He's a gentleman. He definitely tried. Swann dominating at first against Diener, tagging in Hendry, and then he wrestles him briefly before Francis makes his entrance into the match. Gotta say, I never quite realized how big, how tall a guy AJ Francis is. The former Top Dollar being an intimidating force in the ring, definitely showing an angrier side than I think I've ever noticed in his time in WWE or NXT. And I gotta say, I love that new running knee strike that he's hitting. I don't know if it was something he was hitting by the time he left WWE, but it's a running knee strike into the corner where then he flips out of the ring over the top rope. It's a really fun play on the infamous incident where he fell out of the ring trying to do a top rope dive. I thought this was a great nod to that. I hope this is a regular part of his offense, and just a good way of turning lemonade out of those very sour lemons. But the finish coming after Swann taking Francis out of the ring onto the outside, and then Hendry tagging himself in and hitting a standing ovation, a long rotating standing ovation onto Diener for the 1, 2, 3. He then celebrates in the middle of the ring, sort of in front of Rich Swann, a Rich Swann who didn't seem too thrilled with that. But then they are standing side by side, holding each other's arms up to celebrate their victory. But I do think the seeds are being planted for an actual heel turn for Swann, or at the very least, a breaking off from Hendry, which will probably be a heel turn. But interesting stuff. Joe Hendry is an absolute beast. He is so much stronger than anyone gives him credit for. Rich Swann, definitely the capable tag team partner. Diener filling that role of the job guy. And I got to say, Francis, I've been saying it for years, and I'll keep saying it until I'm blue in the face. TNA is career rehab. Nobody was on board with AJ Francis being in TNA. Nobody was eagerly anticipating his TNA debut. But the fact of the matter is, he is making the changes necessary He's putting the effort in that's necessary for people to take him seriously. So even if he's going to be a comedic character moving forward, he's not going to be a joke. And I think that's already a vast improvement from where we saw him at the end of his WWE run. So congratulations to AJ Francis on this matchup, and good job from all four men involved. We then had a backstage segment. We had a vignette for the Decay, where the Decay are talking about being patient, being in New Orleans, where all these tapings, I believe, were taking place, or at the very least where the pay-per-view is going to be. I don't know if it's going to be taking place in New Orleans, but somewhere in New Orleans, the Decay were talking about their patience and what they're looking forward to moving on after having lost the tag team titles, the Knockouts tag team titles, to MK Ultra. I'll be honest, guys, I'm worried about the Decay. What did I think about NXT? Danny asks. I thought it was a very interesting thing to bring back Sean Spears, aka Ty Dillinger. That's weird. Formerly known as Ty Dillinger, formerly known as Sean Spears, currently known as Ty Dillinger. But hey, everybody needs a good hand. Why not? Why not NXT? And I'm looking forward to all the tag team action. I think Braun Breaker and Baron Corbin are a winning combination. But yeah, I'm nervous for the Decay guys, because after having lost those tag team titles again to MK Ultra, I don't know where they go from here. I don't think they plan on making Rosemary a facet in the singles division for the Knockouts. Maybe they could do it with Jessica, where Rosemary's sort of her corner woman. But I can only see these two going for the tag titles so many more times before I just completely lose interest in a team that I actually enjoy. So yeah, the Knockouts division definitely needs some sprucing up. The talent is all there. The Decay are a very talented team, but there just needs to be some refreshing in terms of what we see them doing. But I don't know. I don't want to complain. We then had a backstage interview where it has been announced, and I'm going to get into this in a second. Alex Hammerstone is officially signed to TNA. He had a stellar showing at TNA Hard to Kill, where he had a great one-on-one match with Josh Alexander. Josh Alexander, who comments on having a rematch with Hammerstone moving forward. I think that's going to be a very good match. The first one was great. I'm sure this next one is going to be even better, because these guys are going to have a little more chemistry. But Josh is interrupted by Dirty Dango and his posse. Josh then hints at getting Santino to book them for a match next week on Impact. No, Eric, Alex Shelley was not on the show. The rest of his Motor City Machine Gun teams, the rest of his Time Machine team was on tonight, but I think Shelley was selling the very brutal loss to Moose at TNA No Surrender. Moving on, we then had I'm so sorry. I do want to go back to something that we didn't cover already, which was Soundcheck with Alan Angels, where his guest was Big Con. Angels said that he has the best security that money can buy since his last segment ended in chaos. Angels then expressed how proud he is of Con, as they are both doing awesome stuff. Definitely revisiting the design connection that they once shared. Khan reminds him that he is the baddest man in TNA. The lights then flicker as PCO appears. PCO shoves Angels to the ground and starts fighting with Khan as the camera cuts. I knew this feud wasn't over. I think we all knew this feud wasn't over, and this is definitely going to lead to something very hardcore. Please don't be Monsters Ball, because it shouldn't be just for everybody, but it's probably going to be Monsters Ball. But great use of Soundcheck. I think this was something TNA desperately needed. A segment show is something that I know isn't for everybody, but it really does help storylines progress and find footing without the same formulaic backstage conversation or in-ring promo. So good job getting this off the ground. We then move forward to what was probably the most anticipated part of tonight's episode, Mustafa Ali's inauguration ceremony as the new X Division champion. He is brought out by John Schuyler and Jason Hotch, the good hands. He then Mustafa Ali proclaims, we did it, we accepted change, and we made the X Division great again. Oh, God. He's doing everything he can to be a bad guy. I know he is. But the problem is the fans are cheering this man because of how much they love him. It doesn't matter what this character is. They are all in on Mustafa Ali. And there's also the reality of the fact that depending on what town they're in, depending on what city they're in, this is probably not going to be that heelish of a gimmick to a lot of people. There is an entire half of this country that is, I'm sure, excited to cheer for this kind of gimmick, even if it's in a guy like Mustafa Ali, who they weren't expecting to be their guy. Nevertheless, I think this is really working for Mustafa, and he is interrupted by Chris Sabin, the former champion who Mustafa pinned at No Surrender in the main event, the first X Division main event in, I believe, nearly 20 years, not since Samoa Joe, Christopher Daniels, and AJ Styles rocked in their triple threat for the X Division championship. Sabin then interrupts and challenges Ali to step away from the podium and talk to him like a man. Sabin says he would like to be champ. If he would still be champ, I'm so sorry, if it wasn't for the good hands. Ali says that is a slanderous accusation. The good hands tackle Sabin, leading to... No, I'm so sorry. Sabin says that, the fans might agree with him, but you know what? He's not a politician. He's not here to talk. And then he just punches Mustafa straight in the face. This allows the good hands to tackle him and to hold him down, thus bringing out the rest of the Time Machine, Kushida and Kevin Knight as they clear the ring, as Ali security escorts him to safety while they just demolish the ceremony and all the festive decorations that were in the ring. This feud is definitely not over. We will definitely be seeing a rematch soon. And if you're in the New York area, you have the opportunity to see Mustafa Ali take on Sabin's tag team partner from the Motor City Machine Guns, Alex Shelley, this Saturday at House of Glory. We then go to our knockouts match of the evening. A little disappointed we only got one knockouts match tonight, as Tasha Steelz took on Xia Brookside in a number one contenders match to face Jordan Grace at Sacrifice. Prior to the match starting, we had George Iceman come out and introduce Ash by Elegance and declare that Ash will be competing next week on Impact. Looking forward to that. Really looking forward to Ash continuing to develop on screen. The knockouts match, this was a rubber match, or should have been a rubber match, as Tasha and Xia have both traded wins in the past. Xia picking up the first win in their series like last month, and Tasha picking up a win a couple of weeks ago, cheating in the process to get that win, using the tights for a little extra leverage. This match had a lot of flipping, had a lot of rolling, and we were going towards a clear definitive winner when unintentionally we got a count out and a draw. Both women counted out as to who would be challenging Jordan Grace for the Knockouts Championship. Jordan Grace comes out and declares that she will face both women at Sacrifice. Fighting champion that Jordan Grace is. We then go to a backstage promo hyping up a match on Explosion as Rhino calls out the digital media champion, Crazy Steve. I gotta say, I know Rhino is definitely showing his age lately, but the man knows how to cut a wrestling promo. He knows how to hype up a match. He knows what people want to see. He knows what people want to hear, and that is a gore, a gore, a gore. So always fun to see Rhino. We then go to our main event. And guys, I got to tell you, this is the first time in a long time I was really invested in not knowing what was going to happen, but just enjoying the action. And I kind of jumped out of my seat a couple of times as we had the System, led by world champion Moose, taking on the ABC, the World Tag Team Champions, Ace Austin and Chris Bay, and the number one contender, Eric Young. This was a fun trios match. This was a fun six-man tag. Lots. When I say how much back and forth there was, so many guys had a chance to shine in this matchup. I truly was captivated by the 2-on-1 situation of the tag team champions ganging up on the world champion Moose, the much bigger Moose, as they hit him with everything they had, with double insecurities, double super kicks. They go for the 1-2 sweep and the art of the finesse. They hit him with everything they had, couldn't keep him down as he had lots of support from his system teammates, Brian Myers and Eddie Edwards. Just an absolute great showing back and forth. Eventually, Chris Bay being singled out, being triple teamed by the entirety of the system as Moose hits a pump kick onto Ace to keep him out. And then Eddie hitting a backpack stunner after a big boot from Moose, allowing then for an elbow drop from Brian Myers and getting the 1-2-3 on Bay. I'm sure this is going to lead to a tag team title match between system members Brian Myers and Eddie Edwards taking on the champs, the ABC. And we already know Eric Young is the #1 contender against Moose for his world title, thanks to his win over Frankie Kazarian at No Surrender. Great matchup. Great main event. Like I said, all 6 men having a moment to shine. The ABC with their 2-on-1 on the world champion Moose. Moose just looking like an absolute tank, taking as much of the damage as he could before being saved by his teammates. Brian Myers getting the 1-2-3. Eddie Edwards being a constant presence throughout the match. And Eric Young bringing on the main event babyface energy that he inherently has. But yeah, guys, this was a fun episode of TNA Impact. I very much enjoyed seeing the ending of the epilogue of No Surrender as we get on the road to Sacrifice. I think they're definitely laying great groundwork for that event. We know Nick Nemeth versus Steve Macklin is going to be a fun matchup. We know Eric Young versus Moose is definitely going to be a hard-hitting fight. And now I'm looking forward to this tag team match, what will likely be this tag team match between the ABC and the rest of the system. And of course, now the Knockouts triple threat that we're going to get with Jordan Grace, Zaya Brookside, and Tasha Steeles. So lots to look forward to moving forward. We will, like I said, we will have a presence. The Mark It Down podcast will have a presence at House of Glory this Saturday, as there will be lots of TNA talent present. Alex Shelley being among them, the Rascals being among them, and very much looking forward to interacting with those stars. And you guys know the deal. If you enjoyed this video, please hit like. That way we know that you enjoyed how it went. And if you want more of us, please hit subscribe so you can keep up with all the coverage we do here at the Mark It Down podcast, whether that's for WWE, AEW, or of course TNA. We're always here, guys. And if you're not following us here, if we don't have anything for you to watch here, check us out on social media. We are on Instagram, Facebook, X, TikTok, everywhere you can think we're at, and we're having a good time with you guys. So please do what I always say. Watch wrestling. I'm James Gisanti. This is the Gym Pack Zone. This is Mark It Down. And don't forget, please, watch TNA. Have a good night, guys.